When your own family becomes your worst enemy. I used to believe that family was the strongest anchor in life, but sometimes the ones who destroy you are the people closest to you. Not because they hate you, but because they can't stand seeing you succeed beyond them. That was the harsh truth I realized after 10 years of pouring everything I had into transforming my father's small computer repair shop into a multi-million-dollar tech empire. And then, in a single night, everything I built was ripped away from me. By my own family. But I'm not someone who can be easily destroyed. 10 years ago, when I was just 22, my father's computer repair shop was on the brink of closing down. Tucked away in an obscure corner of downtown, it was nothing more than a relic of the past, dusty, outdated, and nearly devoid of customers. My father, Richard Blake, was a stubborn man, clinging to outdated business methods and refusing to adapt to the rapidly evolving tech world. I still remember those days when he sat behind the counter, staring at his old ledger with a furrowed brow, struggling to understand why sales were plummeting. "People don't repair computers anymore, Natalie," he said bitterly. "Kids these days just buy a new one when something goes wrong. How can we compete?" I didn't argue with him, but deep down, I knew the truth. We couldn't compete because we refused to change. My older sister, Olivia, never cared about the shop. She was the golden child. The pride of the family. Smart, beautiful, a graduate of one of Boston's top business schools, and quickly climbing the ranks in a prestigious financial consulting firm. Every time she visited home, she looked at me with pity, seeing me still toiling away in that little store. "Natalie, you're wasting your life here," she'd shake her head. "With your brain, you could do so much more than just tightening screws on these old machines." I only smiled. I wasn't just tightening screws. I was seeing an opportunity that no one else did. I studied computer science at a local university. Not as flashy as Olivia's Ivy League degree, but I had something she didn't. Practicality. I didn't just learn programming. I learned how to spot gaps in the market, to identify needs that weren't being met. And I found one. One late night, sitting in the shop surrounded by broken computers and overdue bills, it hit me. The problem wasn't just in repairs, it was in management. Dozens of customers came in every day with malfunctioning laptops, but most never returned because there was no easy way for them to track the status of their repairs. I built a simple software solution to fix that. A repair tracking system that automatically updated customers on their service progress. At first, my father scoffed. "What's your little software going to do? We're not Google, Natalie." But then, customers started coming back. Not only that, but other small repair shops wanted the system too. Within 6 months, I had expanded it into a full platform for small businesses, helping them manage inventory, track orders, and engage with customers. We weren't just a repair shop anymore, we became a tech company, and I was the one who took us there. While Olivia was busy in Boston making a name for herself in finance, I was grinding day and night to grow the business. I wrote code, built a tech team, and met with clients. When we hit our first million in revenue, I thought, maybe this time my father would finally look at me differently. But I was wrong. When Olivia decided to quit her job in Boston and move back home, it wasn't for a family reunion. She came back to take what I had built. And I had no idea that the biggest storm of my life was about to hit. A company doesn't transform overnight. Success doesn't come from luck. It comes from sleepless nights, missed meals, and customer calls that last until dawn. While others took vacations, I sat in my tiny office, surrounded by stacks of paperwork and flashing lines of code. My father never understood why I worked myself to the bone. He held on to his old mindset, believing that a small repair shop was enough to provide for the family. But I saw beyond that. I saw an opportunity that no one in my family recognized. Technology never stops evolving. And if we didn't move forward, we'd be left behind. And I was right. Within 2 years, Blake Tech Solutions, the name I gave our new company, was no longer just a repair shop. The software I developed didn't just manage repairs, it expanded into inventory tracking, automated invoicing, and customer management. Small businesses started coming to us, not for computer repairs, but to purchase our software. For the first time, my father actually listened. "We're not software people, Natalie. We fix computers." I scoffed. "How do you think Apple or Microsoft started? They were just guys fixing computers in a garage. I don't want us to be stuck doing small repairs forever. I want to build something bigger." He fell silent, not arguing anymore, but I knew he never fully believed in me. I didn't care. I poured everything I had into the company. 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. No vacations, no leisurely dinners, no dates or lazy weekends spent watching movies. But in return, we grew at an astonishing pace. From a tiny shop with just 3 employees, we hired more people. We expanded into a small office, then another. Our first customers spread the word about us, and within 3 years, our revenue surpassed $5 million. I should have been proud, but I had no time to celebrate. Success is never a destination. It's a trap. If you stop, it disappears right before your eyes. People started noticing me, but not in a good way. "Do you think you're growing too fast?" One of my senior employees once asked. "You can't do everything on your own. It's going to be a problem." I knew he might be right, but I couldn't stop. I taught myself how to negotiate contracts, manage finances, and run a tech business without an MBA like Olivia. Every skill I had was earned through facing real problems and figuring out the solutions on my own. And just when I thought I had finally earned my family's recognition, Olivia came back. She showed up one evening in December, just as I was deep in thought about a major decision. "Natalie, you really did it," Olivia said, walking around the office, her eyes gliding over the framed patents on the wall. "I have to admit, I never expected you to take the company this far. I didn't know whether to feel proud or cautious." I looked up from my computer screen. "Are you home for a visit?" She laughed, a laugh I couldn't quite tell was genuine or not. "Not exactly. I came back to help you." I frowned. "Help me?" Olivia sat across from me, composed as if there had never been any distance between us. "You've done an amazing job, but the company is growing so fast you can't handle everything alone. I have experience in finance, in strategy. I can help take Blake Tech to a stable and sustainable level." A part of me wanted to believe her, but another part didn't. "I've managed just fine so far." She smiled. "Fine, but not enough. You need someone who knows how to run a real corporation. I can help you secure investors, expand into new markets, take this company to a level you never even imagined." I didn't answer right away. I knew Olivia. I knew she never did anything without a purpose. But in that moment, I made the one decision I would regret the most. I agreed. Within weeks, Olivia officially joined the company, and within months, I realized that I had let a wolf into my own home. My story should have ended here with a happy conclusion about sisterhood and collaboration. But it didn't, because Olivia didn't come back to help me. She came back to take everything away. I always knew Olivia was ambitious, but I never imagined that ambition would be aimed directly at me. After joining Blake Tech Solutions, it didn't take long for Olivia to make herself an essential part of the company, at least in the eyes of others. She didn't understand technology, nor did she truly care about our products, but she knew how to talk to the right people. What I'd built with code, strategy, and thousands of hours of work, she turned into an image. With her charm, Olivia quickly won over the board members and potential investors. She hosted events, appeared in business magazines, and gradually became the face of the company, a position that had never existed before. Because I never cared about attention, I only cared about the work. And that was my mistake. On a Monday morning, I walked into the conference room, ready to present the latest update on the software platform we had been developing. But just as I took my seat, Olivia stood up, smiling at everyone before she began speaking. "I'm thrilled to announce that starting today, we are entering a new chapter for Blake Tech Solutions. After many discussions with Dad and the board, we have reached an important decision. To drive growth and take the company to new heights, we need a stronger, more professional business strategy." I blinked, an uneasy feeling creeping into my chest. "Olivia," I interrupted, my voice calm. "What decision are you talking about?" She turned to me, her smile unwavering. "Oh, right. You don't know yet?" That was when my father spoke, his voice filled with enthusiasm. "Natalie, we've decided to appoint Olivia as co-CEO. You know, you're great at technology, but the company needs a leader with business vision." The room suddenly felt stifling. I looked around the table. A few people avoided my gaze. Others nodded along with my father, unquestioning. I let out a quiet chuckle, not because I found it funny, but because I couldn't believe their audacity. "Why am I only hearing about this now?" I asked. My eyes locked on Olivia. She tilted her head, as if I were overreacting. "Natalie, you've always been busy with the product. While I've been focused on the business side, this is the most logical step for the company." I clenched my fists. "And I don't get a say in this? My father frowned. Natalie, this is for the benefit of everyone. For the long-term growth of the company. I wanted to laugh out loud. Benefit of who? Mine or Olivia's, who had just claimed half the leadership position in the company I had built with my blood and sweat? But I said nothing, not because I had nothing to say, but because I realized something crucial. I had been set up. In the weeks that followed, Olivia slowly turned Blake Tech into her stage. She secured partnerships with major corporations, appeared in the media as a successful businesswoman, telling stories about how she and her sister built the company from nothing. With every speech she gave, the achievements I had spent my youth working for were twisted into our shared effort. She took the spotlight, while I continued to do the actual work. But things were even worse than I had imagined. Gradually, she cut me out of important meetings. Major decisions were made without my input. When I protested, my father told me not to be stubborn. When I asked about new projects, employees only responded with silence. I was being pushed aside in my own company. Olivia didn't just want to share my position, she wanted to replace me. One late night, I sat in my office, staring at my computer screen, a heavy weight in my chest. A new email popped up from the finance department, proposed changes to the shareholder agreement. I opened it, reading each line as a cold chill ran down my spine. Olivia was trying to take over my majority shares. If her plan succeeded, she would have overwhelming control over the company. I slowly placed my hands on the keyboard, but didn't type a single word. I realized I was at a crossroads. I could fight back openly, try to reclaim every piece of power I had lost. But I knew Olivia. She had been planning this for a long time. If I reacted now, I would lose everything. I needed a plan. I leaned back in my chair, taking a deep breath. Olivia thought she had won, but she had made a critical mistake. She forgot that I am not the type to accept defeat. I had doubted Olivia from the start, but I never expected her to be this ruthless. When the invitation to my father's 60th birthday party appeared on my desk, sent personally by Olivia, I knew something was off. Olivia had never cared about family events, yet this time she had booked a 5-star hotel, invited top business figures, partners, and media outlets. Natalie, this isn't just your father's birthday, an employee let slip as I walked past the conference room. This is an event to elevate Blake Tech. An event? To promote the company? A cold thought crept into my mind. No, not the company. Olivia. I should have walked away then and there. But I wanted to believe that no matter how ambitious she was, Olivia wouldn't dare betray me right in front of our father. I was wrong. That evening, I stepped into the grand ballroom, where Olivia had orchestrated every detail to perfection. LED screens displayed images of her shaking hands with top CEOs, banners hung high, emblazoned with the words Blake Tech, the future of technology. With Olivia's face front and center, not a single trace of me. I wasn't stupid. I knew this game. She was setting the stage to erase me. But I walked in anyway. My father stood beside Olivia, looking proud. When I approached, he glanced at me for a single second before turning away, as if I were nothing more than a distant guest. Natalie, Olivia beamed, embracing me under the watchful eyes of dozens of onlookers. You made it. I was afraid you'd be too busy to come. Her voice was sweet as honey, but I could smell the blood in the air. Hers? I didn't respond. I just looked deep into her sharp blue eyes. She was hiding something. Then the party began. The company's partners, investors, and some of the biggest names in tech were in attendance. Everything felt more like a corporate launch event than a birthday celebration. And then the moment of reckoning arrived. At exactly 9 p.m., Olivia stepped onto the stage. She raised her glass, flashing a dazzling smile. Tonight is not just about celebrating my father's 60th birthday, but also a major milestone for Blake Tech Solutions. I gripped my wine glass tightly. I could predict what was coming. But it didn't stop my chest from tightening. After much deliberation, the board and our family have reached an important decision. Olivia scanned the crowd. I am thrilled to announce that starting tomorrow, I will be assuming the role of Blake Tech's sole CEO. The air in the room froze. All eyes turned to me. A few whispers rippled through the crowd, but the worst was yet to come. Olivia continued, her voice laced with insincere sympathy. Don't misunderstand. My sister Natalie has made valuable contributions over the years, but we all know her strengths lie in technology, not leadership. More eyes on me, but I didn't blink. We need someone with real vision, someone who can propel this company forward. And to be completely honest, she paused, locking eyes with me. Natalie, you're just not capable of doing that. A shockwave rippled through the room. I had spent my entire life being underestimated, being dismissed, but I never thought it would be my own sister humiliating me in front of hundreds of people. I looked at my father. He didn't object. He nodded in agreement. Had I just lost everything? No one spoke. No one stood up for me. Taking a deep breath, I set my wineglass down on the table. The room braced for an explosion, a fiery confrontation. But I didn't argue. I stood up, walked to the head table where my father sat. Slowly, I pulled a small gift box from my pocket and placed it in front of him. "Happy birthday, Dad." My voice was calm, cold, even. Then I turned and walked out of the room without looking back. Behind me, the murmurs grew louder. Some people were shocked, others whispered among themselves. But I didn't care anymore. They thought I had accepted it. They thought I had been pushed out and would disappear forever. They were wrong. As I stepped out of the hotel, a small smile crossed my lips. Olivia thought she had won the company. But she had forgotten something important. I wasn't about to let my years of hard work be handed over to someone else. And I had a plan. Tomorrow, I would begin my own game. I spent the entire night in my office not closing my eyes for even a minute. On the screen in front of me, a flood of email responses kept coming in. With every new message, my decision became even clearer. Olivia thought she had taken me down, but she didn't know. She had just lit the match to the biggest disaster of her life. At 3 a.m., I sent the most important email of my career. As I pressed send, a strange calm washed over me. No more anger, no more pain. Just absolute focus. Because this morning, I was going to take back what was mine. I arrived at the office earlier than anyone else and sat in my old CEO chair. The chair Olivia should never have had the chance to claim. I didn't have to wait long. At 9 a.m., the glass door swung open. Olivia strode in like a queen, my father trailing behind her, his face still glowing with the thrill of last night's victory. "What are you even doing here?" Olivia smirked, folding her arms. "I thought after last night you'd know better and back off." I didn't answer right away. I simply looked at the two of them, then calmly placed my tablet on the table. "Sit down," I said, my voice eerily quiet. My father frowned. "Natalie, stop making trouble. We've already decided." I cut him off. "We haven't decided anything. But today, we will." I turned on the large screen in the conference room, displaying a contract. "Before we go any further, maybe you should recall an important agreement you signed 3 years ago." I clicked to the next slide. A set of legal documents appeared. The share transfer agreement. 3 years ago, when the company needed capital to expand, you sold me 26% of Blake Tech. At the time, you rushed to sign without fully reading the terms. Do you remember that? My father's face shifted from confusion to complete shock. I continued. "When you add that to the 25% stake I already owned, that gives me a 51% majority share." I turned to Olivia, watching as the smile froze on her face. "You are not the sole CEO," I said slowly. "Starting today, I have the final say in everything at Blake Tech." The room fell into absolute silence. My father was speechless, and Olivia sat frozen, gripping the arm of her chair so tightly her knuckles turned white. But I wasn't done yet. I pressed another button on my tablet, pulling up the second crucial email. And we have one more problem to discuss. On the screen, the contents of the email appeared. Sender, Natalie Blake. Recipient, all major Blake Tech clients. Last night, I sent an email informing them of the leadership change at the company. And guess what? I flipped through the responses. 90% of our biggest clients have sent in contract termination notices. I turned to Olivia, my gaze ice cold. "Did you think clients stayed because of Blake Tech?" "No, they stayed because of me. Because of what I built." Olivia's mouth fell open, her hands trembling as she checked her phone for emails. Her face turned ghostly pale as she saw the confirmation letters from the clients. But I wasn't done yet. I pulled up another file. The software licensing contract. And this, I said, my voice slow but razor sharp, is the final piece. Blake Tech does not own the core software of the company. It belongs to Innovate Solutions LLC, a separate company I founded 4 years ago. I turned to my father. "Do you remember the document you signed last week?" Sweat trickled down his temple. The license renewal agreement? I let out a cold chuckle. Yes, but I never sent it in. I glanced at the clock, and the software license officially expired 5 minutes ago. For a moment, Olivia collapsed into her chair as if she had been punched in the gut. No, this can't be. I stood up, slowly gathering my belongings. It's done, I said lightly. I have taken back what's mine. And now, you have 2 choices. I looked straight at Olivia. Aw, I walk away, taking all the clients, the software, and the tech team with me. Blake Tech will be nothing but an empty shell, and you'll have to explain to the investors why the company collapsed overnight. I paused, letting my words sink in. 2, you and Dad resign, becoming non-executive shareholders. I take full control, and you walk away with a payout and disappear. I tilted my head slightly. Choose. The room was drowning in silence. My father sank into his chair, his face aging 10 years in just a few minutes. Olivia stared at me, pure hatred in her eyes. But she knew. She had no other choice. The room remained still. No one dared to breathe too loudly. Olivia's face was pale, her eyes filled with both horror and fury. She might have been a master manipulator, but this time, all the cards in her hand had been torn to shreds. My father lowered his head, his hands trembling on the table. He had nothing left to say. I crossed my arms, tilting my head at them. Well, what will it be? No one answered. I had backed them into a corner. My father was the first to break the silence. He lifted his head, his aged eyes filled with defeat. Can we renegotiate? His voice was weak, almost pleading for mercy. I laughed, but there was no warmth in it. Negotiate? After you stood by and watched me be humiliated in front of hundreds of people last night? I slowly shook my head. No, Dad, this isn't a negotiation. This is an ultimatum. He slumped further into his chair, his eyes clouded with disbelief, as if he were asking himself when everything had spiraled out of his control. I turned to Olivia. And you? Still refusing to accept reality? Her fists clenched so tightly that her nails dug into her palms, but she didn't say a word. I took slow, deliberate steps toward her, keeping my voice low and sharp like a blade. If you still think you can turn this around, let me help you understand something. I tapped a button on my tablet, bringing up a projected revenue chart on the screen. This is what happens if I walk away right now. I pointed at the steep drop. An 80% revenue decline within the next 3 months. Without my software, without my loyal clients, this company will collapse faster than your reputation. Olivia clenched her teeth, her eyes burning with fury. But she had no argument left. I leaned forward, placing both hands on the table, locking eyes with her. Or, you can take the second option. I said, each word sinking into the air. You walk away, right now. You never interfere with this company again. I paused, holding her gaze, then slowly emphasized every word. Or you, loose. Everything. Olivia shuddered, her hands trembling as she gripped the glass of water in front of her. Then she looked at me, hatred filling her eyes. But this time, that look held no power over me. Fine, she spat, each word dripping with venom. I'll go. Saying it out loud must have felt like a knife slicing through her pride. I smirked. Smart choice. My father looked between Olivia and me, as if trying to salvage whatever shred of control he had left. But I still own shares in the company. I nodded. And you can keep them, but only as a passive shareholder. You no longer have any decision-making power here. His expression darkened. Natalie, is this how you treat your own father? I tilted my head. Do you remember how you treated me? He had no response. We're handling this now, I continued. I've already prepared the paperwork. Olivia will receive a payout and leave the company today. You will continue to receive dividends, but from this moment on, you have no control. I placed the pen in front of them. Sign it. The room was silent. Olivia took the pen, her hands shaking. But in the end, she signed. My father stared at the document as if he were looking at the end of a dream he had allowed the wrong person to control. Finally, he signed as well. I gathered the papers, neatly organizing them into my folder. It's done, I said, my voice as light as the wind. I looked at Olivia one last time. You have 3 hours to clear out your office. As of now, you no longer belong to Blake Tech? She shot up from her chair, shoving it back with force. Her eyes blazed with rage. but I met her stare with nothing but ice. Without another word, she stormed out of the room. And I knew she would never forgive me. With only my father and me left in the room, he looked at me, his eyes filled with disappointment. "Did you really do this, Natalie?" I let out a small laugh, void of any amusement. "No, Dad." I lifted the folder, meeting his gaze. "You and Olivia did this? I simply took back what was mine." A week later, the name Olivia Blake disappeared completely from Blake Tech Solutions. She left in disgrace, without fanfare. No more grand interviews, no more lavish parties, filled with VIP guests. Just a quiet ending for someone who thought she could steal another person's work without paying the price. I never saw her on the day she left, but I knew that when she walked out those doors for the last time, she hated me to her very core, and I didn't care, but I had no time to savor my victory. After the coup, the company was thrown into chaos. Some investors panicked, some employees doubted whether I had the ability to run the company alone. The mess Olivia left behind wasn't easy to clean up, but I didn't fall. I led Blake Tech with an iron will, refusing to let anyone shake my position ever again. I rebuilt trust through actions, not empty promises. I personally met with every major client, ensuring that our products remained the top choice in the market. I hired talented experts, implemented innovative strategies that Olivia had once blocked. And within 2 years, Blake Tech didn't just recover, it exploded, stronger than ever. The company's value tripled. Those who once doubted me were now forced to admit they had been wrong. And Olivia? After her humiliating downfall, she fled to Silicon Valley, trying to rebuild her reputation at a small startup. I heard things weren't going well for her. Without my shadow to stand in, she struggled to prove her actual competence. But in an industry where reputation can make or break a person, the name Olivia Blake had become a cautionary tale. People said she still tried to appear strong, but I knew she would never forget this failure. And my father, after losing control of the company, he finally understood just how wrong he had been. He retired early, leaving behind the business world he once prided himself on. I don't know if he regrets anything, but he never spoke about the past again. We still saw each other on holidays, exchanged polite conversations, but the father-daughter bond had been permanently severed. I still kept the unopened birthday gift I had given him that fateful night, a photo album documenting the company's journey from day one. It sat on the shelf, gathering dust over the years. I had never opened it. Maybe one day, when the pain had faded, I would give it to him. But not today. My story became a legend in the business world. People called me Natalie Blake, the woman who turned the tables. They were curious about how I reclaimed my company, about the bitter lessons Olivia and my father had learned. They spoke of me with admiration and caution, because they all knew one thing. I was the kind of person you should never underestimate. Then one day, an email appeared in my inbox from Harvard Business School. Subject, invitation to speak at the graduation ceremony. I skimmed the content. They wanted me to give a speech on the power of underestimated leaders. I let out a quiet laugh. The irony of fate. The event organizer was none other than Olivia. I imagined the look on her face when she saw the email confirming that I would be standing on stage, right in front of her. And this time, I would be holding the microphone, and she would be the one forced to listen. Why are we here today? I stood before hundreds of graduating students, the stage lights shining down on me. My eyes scanned the crowd, pausing for a brief second on Olivia's stiff expression. She couldn't leave. She couldn't do anything but sit there and listen to every word I said. I was once seen as worthless, I said, my voice echoing through the auditorium. I was pushed out of the very company I'd built. I was humiliated in front of hundreds of people. Some in the audience held their breath, sensing that a deeper story was unfolding. I looked directly at Olivia. But there's one thing that those who betrayed me never understood. The most underestimated people are often the most dangerous ones. The room erupted into applause, but I didn't look at anyone else. I only looked at Olivia. And at that moment, I saw what I had been waiting for all these years. For the first time in her life, she couldn't meet my eyes. Natalie's story is more than just a battle for justice. It is a profound lesson in self-worth and resilience. In reality, many people are underestimated, sidelined by their own families or colleagues. But like Natalie, true success doesn't come from status or reputation. It comes from actual ability and the strength to rise after betrayal. When someone tries to steal what you've built, remember this: the best revenge isn't to destroy them, it's to make them acknowledge that you can never be replaced.